Hey guys, welcome back to EAK TV. I'm delighted to be here with Jeremy Millar, the Chief of Staff at Consensys. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you.
How are you enjoying Athens so far? I know it's obviously first thing in the morning here at Decentralized, but yeah, what's your view of the event so far?
Look, fantastic speakers. Happy to be here. Eva's a good friend, and we're delighted to be sponsoring.
So I'm sure many of our viewers know about Consensys, but for those that don't, could you just give us a quick brief overview of what Consensys does and the whole ecosystem?
Sure. So Consensys was one of the original creators of applications on the Ethereum network, and our mission is to bring the powers of decentralization for the betterment of society and the economy through developing applications and marketplaces and open financial networks on top of the Ethereum network. We're about 1,300 people in about 35 countries around the world, working on everything from low-level protocol engineering to creating tokens to building payments networks to investing in third-party companies.
So I was watching a recent interview of yours, and you mentioned about Consensys tokenizing its internal economy, which I found really interesting. Could you tell us a little bit more about how you guys are planning to do that, or if you're doing it already?
Sure. So we believe that with this technology we can create very fluid transfers of values so that you can start to measure at a very granular level how, say, hours of effort get translated into product features and how those can be demonstrably measured and calculated on a ledger and exchanged, so that you may work on a project, earn some project tokens that may represent some shares or equity or profit sharing in that project. You may work on another and do the same thing, acquire these tokens that accrue to you from your effort. You may want to diversify your risk, or there may be a project that you like that you don't work on and you may want to trade some of your tokens between one project and another. We have some of this working sort of in cloud-based single user ledgers or Google Sheets, but we are starting to implement this technology using Ethereum-based solutions.
Right, okay, cool. So I understand that obviously you guys, I think you've got about 50 plus kind of projects going on at any one time or have been going on. Do you ever obviously you've got a lot of staff, working on different projects. Do you ever sometimes mix it around and throw staff into different projects to get new ideas?
Yeah, so we believe that fluidity is good for Consensys and generally good for creativity. We're not the first organization to realize this. Google famously has had its 80-20 rule for many years, so we encourage fluidity where possible, but not at the trade-off of giving up excellence of execution.
So I think Consensys, from what I'm reading and from what you're telling me, is maybe at the forefront of ways of working. How do you see the future of work?
Sure. So in a world in which people can work wherever they want, where value can be measured and exchanged granularly, we believe that we can provide an environment where individuals can choose what they work on and contribute in a meaningful way to society. And so we operate Consensys as a decentralized organization, and what we're trying to do is build next generation tools for how you manage a decentralized organization. Frankly, the centralized systems that we see in traditional ERP systems aren't fit for purpose for running an organization like Consensys. We're running ethereal events globally, and there are plans to bring ethereal to Europe.
So what is required then for Consensys to continue to grow its ecosystem? What do you look for to target specific areas?
So to date, we've been very organic about this. Talented individuals, technologists, and entrepreneurs tend to have found us. Increasingly over the last 6 to 12 months, we've spent more time thinking about what do we want to develop in the next year, what do we want to develop in the next 2 years, where do we want the ecosystem to be in the next 3 years, and being more proactive. But our organization is really designed to be highly agile and organic, and to move as the market changes. I don't think any individual, no matter how capable, can make an accurate prediction as to where this ecosystem will be in 6 months, let alone in 3 years. And so we try to retain flexibility as one of our core operating principles.
So of the 50 plus companies that are working under Consensys or alongside Consensys, shall we say, obviously there's a ton of different industries that you guys have been targeting at. How do you guys concept, the new idea of the next project? Like, what kind of strategy process do you go through to identify that?
Yeah, so it's very organic. I think if you look at blockchain in general, I would argue that 50% plus of blockchain initiatives and early applications are in financial services, and so a significant portion of our activity is focused either on working with incumbent providers of financial services to build more open networks, or creating some alternatives that are open and digital asset based from inception. And that continues to be an area of focus for us quite proactively. We spend quite a lot of time on supply chain. The use cases there are well understood around provenance and tracking. We spend quite a lot of time on energy and how we can build microgrid infrastructure that operates in real time. We spend quite a lot of time on social impact projects and thinking about how we can create infrastructure for those who don't have it. And we spend quite a lot of time on other things as well.
So from what I've been reading and from what I've been hearing, demand for blockchain skilled staff is at an all-time high. I understand that you guys have something called a Consensys Academy, which is possibly helping to mitigate this. Can you tell us a bit more about the Consensys Academy, what it's trying to achieve, and also, for participants of the Consensys Academy, do they have a route into Consensys?
Sure. So we're at a stage in the ecosystem where we need very talented engineers to become blockchain engineers, and the Academy offers a variety of channels, including online and in-person training. We're going to train several thousand engineers to become blockchain engineers this year. And yes, certainly for the best and the brightest in that program, there is a route to employment at Consensys.
Is there any new developments for Consensys right now that you guys are specifically working on?
I think an area of focus for us is we just announced one of the first new Ethereum clients, Pantheon, at DevCon in Prague a couple of weeks ago. We think the ecosystem really needs an additional code base written in a mainstream language that can work both as a mainnet client and for enterprise customers. And building on that, we're investing very heavily in the Ethereum 2.0 Serenity roadmap. And that's probably one of the areas where we have more people focusing time and attention than anything else.
So you mentioned that, with the future of work, that people, are more and more going to be working remotely on projects they want to work. Is that something that Consensys actually promote themselves, or do you, I know you guys obviously have a few offices, so how does that work out?
So we have offices, I think we have about 15 offices around the world, but people working in 35 countries, so we try to federate and decentralize ourselves as much as possible.
So I understand that you are part of a Barclays accelerator.
Long time ago.
Is that not happening anymore?
It's still happening. Yeah. So Barclays was one of the first financial institutions to really embrace entrepreneurship and operate an accelerator in conjunction with Techstars. And certainly during the first couple of cohorts, I spent quite a lot of time there. It's been a little bit tricky over the last year or two with this whole Ethereum thing. But we've got some of our team members still mentoring projects there.
So I understand Consensys is one of the main sponsors of this event. What is it that Consensys are trying to achieve by sponsoring the event? Is it just by helping the ecosystem grow, or what are your goals from sponsoring events like this?
Sure. We think that stimulating the ecosystem is a core objective of ours. We try to support as many of the quality events as we can. Unfortunately, we can't support all of them, but where we have enough warning, and we are always looking to support events across the ecosystem.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, thanks Jeremy for your time today. That's EAK TV. Subscribe below.